Okay, Alex, thank you so much. It's
Hi,
1 year
Rajat.
I'm chasing you.
I'm very happy this finally worked. I know we tried a couple of times. Here we are.
All right, look, first of all, I think we did a bit of introductions. I'm thankful to you for spreading so much of positivity on Twitter. People can get very aggressive, but I think you maintain that level of dignity and decorum, which I think is very exemplary, at least to me, sitting here in Singapore. And I think the questions which I have more as I discussed is, I just I'm curious, why are you a Tesla investor? What
I'm
made
a
you
Tesla
invest in Tesla?
investor. Oh, you got a lot of time. You want to listen to all of it?
So, I mean, this, it doesn't have to be very lengthy, but, I just want to get
I
an
tell you.
idea that what
Sure, sure.
interested you.
So I'm European, I'm German, married to a Frenchman, and we moved in 2014 to California. And one of the things we wanted for sure in California was an electric car, because in California you could find electric cars, contrary to France. Then we were looking for one in France before, but we couldn't get any, because in California was a law that if you were a car maker, you needed to have one electric car in your offering, or you needed to pay a lot of penalties. So they all had these compliance cars, or they all worked on those compliance cars. And BMW had a little i3, very cute little car, little range, 80 miles, but that was it. So we had a Mercedes ICE car, and we bought that, or we leased that BMW i3 from 2014 to 2017. In 2017, I was on the wait list for a Model 3, but that was production hell for Tesla. So we couldn't get that right at the moment when that first lease expired. So we needed to do something. And the only other EV car that was available was the Chevrolet Bolt. So we got the Chevrolet Bolt and had that from 2017 to 2020. That was an upgrade from the BMW, not in style. The BMW was cuter, but it had a 200-mile range and had more utility to it. So we had that. Then came 2020. And in May 2020, that lease was up, and now we were in for a Tesla. So we wanted to test drive one in March. And I do believe there must have been, angels singing, because that happened right at the moment when the stock went down because COVID started. So we did that test drive. Now, remember, I had 6 years of EV experience. So this wasn't like, oh my God, I'm discovering what a good torque it is or how an EV works. No. I went into that test drive, and it took me 2 corners of the street, and I said, this is it. This is a computer on wheels. That has nothing to do with any EV I've ever driven, yet I had driven EVs. This is it. So came back with my husband from that test drive, and I said, you know what, tomorrow morning when the stock exchange opens, it has just gone down due to COVID. We're going to sell everything else and buy Tesla. And that's what we did. So we threw everything in the kitchen sink in Tesla in March 2020.
Well, you didn't look at any financials. You didn't look at where the company could be in 15 years. So you're a
I
fund
didn't sleep
manager, you're a
much
former
then.
fund manager.
I am. So I was fund manager in the 1990s for one of actually for the biggest European mutual fund, and so I was brought up with diversification guidelines, nothing more than 10%, everything between 5 and 10%. The sum could not exceed 40%. I mean, I knew all these rules. I had obeyed for them. And then my fund was rated AAA by Moody's. So we had to be extra careful to always be within the rights. And then I worked for a rating agency from 1997 to 2004. And then I had my own rating agency for 3 years. So yes, all this should have told me, don't do it, girl. Do your research. You can't just do it. So the conviction was stronger than the brain, but the brain caught up quickly. I didn't sleep much in that month because I started watching videos, Stephen Mark Ryan, now the father and the son couple. I mean, so many of them, Warren Redlich and whatever. And so I started watching all these, and then I looked into the financials, and then I started reactivating my old Twitter account. And so I sort of did my homework late, but everything I saw was very comforting. So, and from there on, I threw the entire amounts of IRA and 401k money that you can in America put in for 2021, 2022, 2023, all into Tesla. And with any excess money I have, I mean, I still have children in colleges and they still cost me a lot of money, but with any money I have in excess every month, the rest of it goes into Tesla shares. So this has been going on now for nearly 3 years. No, actually more than 3 years, 3.5 years.
Yeah, I think it's a bit strange, isn't it? We all talk about diversification. We talk about 10% in this and 5% in this. You you have no other holdings at all? It's just Tesla?
I have 2% in ASTS. So let
What
me
is
tell you
that?
a little bit about ASTS. ASTS is a very young startup that is able to do phone-to-phone communication via satellites without any linkage to any, receptor in the street. So this will allow that anybody with a phone in the middle of nowhere via satellite can call anybody else in the world. The technology is great. They're still a very small startup. I think they have a huge potential. So I put a little bit of money there. It's money that I can completely lose if this doesn't go the way it goes. Currently, one stock costs about $5.20. So it's it's really still a small stock. This can 10x because they have ambitious plans, and I think they have the brain power to do it. But it can also go to zero. So I don't want to use much of my money on it because anything I do, I always reason Tesla stock now.
Yeah,
Somebody tells me,
benchmark.
"Oh, you can buy this painting," and I go, "Okay, that's 15 Tesla stock, or that's 25 Tesla stock."
That's too much.
It's crazy. It
So,
is.
but what's the outcome you're looking from this Tesla ownership, Alex? Like, you have any particular
Um,
price target in mind? Do you think 2030
yeah.
is going to be like this? What's the outcome you're looking for?
So I did for a while reassure myself with dollar cost with discounted cash flow models, right? Just because that's how I was brought up, and in the end, I told I was very honest with myself. I said, you know what, all these assumptions, because you always start with assumptions, right? How many cars will be sold?
Yeah.
What's the EV market? What will be the market share of Tesla? All these assumptions mean nothing. In just the last 6 months, I changed my assumptions of who will be competitors of Tesla. I initially thought Volkswagen may be a competitor or Toyota may be a competitor. Today, I think it's going to be mainly the Chinese who are going to be competitors. So in a market that is still so fluctuating, pretending that who in 2030 has how much market share of how big a market is just impossible. I found it impossible. So I simplified it. I went to first principles and I thought, the much more clever and much more informed people are Elon and the management team of Tesla. So just listen to them and just give them the benefit of the doubt. And so, contrary to what I was always told, never believe management, I thought, you know what, why would I be smarter? I rather listen to them. So, Elon, what did he say? He said, cars and energy will be about the same size. Okay, so I had an idea where I thought the car market would be, and I doubled that to include energy. But then the bots will be as much as cars and energy together. So now we have 4 times the car market. So thinking about that gives me a very, very thorough belief that we will be somewhere at a share price of about 3,000 between 2030 and 2035, which is fair enough for me. And I'm not going to get more granular because with anything more granular, it just becomes weaker. People are so reassured when they have spreadsheets, and I actually think it's a fake reassurance. It makes you believe that because you put so many numbers down that whatever comes out on the bottom is the right thing, but it's BS in, BS out.
So I think it's basically over engineering. You are doing more for yourself. It's basically you're
Yes.
covering your own insecurities than anything else. I think I've seen this again and
Yeah.
again. Now, I think one question which I have is, how do you live through this drama? The
That's a good question. There was a key moment. The key moment was actually last year in November and December last year, 2022. Elon had sold 3 tranches of Tesla shares, and Tesla share price has gone down, and we thought he was done. And then he sold again twice. And that was really a moment I had it in the stomach because I felt like I was suddenly investing in a stock of which I understood or have understood the business model, where I trusted management. And I was completely agreeing that it was worthwhile that Elon would purchase Twitter. I saw the need for free speech, and I saw the need of, that part of our human life needed to be saved as well, because if not, this whole multiplanetary idea of his may become reality much quicker than we think. I really hope it never becomes, necessary. So at that very moment, when he had to sell again, and I think it was 7 billion at that moment, if I recall it right, in two tranches, 3 and 4 billion, that's when the stock price finally went down to $100. And that came to the point where I was about to lose money. Up to that moment, I was still in the green, but that was the moment where I was really suffering. And I had sometimes I gamble a little bit with additional calls, just because I have such a big conviction, and there I really got burned, and some of my calls finished without any value. So I had 2 sleepless nights, which doesn't happen a lot because I need my beauty sleep. And so the one was, how long do I want to do this? Because when it goes to 100, it may go to 50, right? You had all these people screaming on all sides. And do I want to stay 100% invested or 98% invested? It was more than 98 because I had calls. And in the end, I said, yes, this is the only company where I see the mission and the vision. And that doesn't mean I'm blind. I mean, I'm every day putting myself out there and researching Chinese car makers, researching others that do FSD models, seeing where they are. Looking today, for example, at Gemini from Google, thinking, okay, could this be a competitor to XAI and to Tesla? Should Tesla invest in XAI? So I do, question, but it doesn't affect my fundamental investment decision anymore. So I detached myself, and I'm actually not even looking daily on the stock price anymore. I've just done that. I mean, I know where it is, of course, because I do calculations and all that, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not in there. I don't have any options anymore, and I don't have any margin anymore. No, I have to correct that. I do have some old $300 calls for January 2025, but I'm very comfortable with those.
Yeah, no, I think investing in Tesla is a lot about understanding Elon. If you don't spend time understanding him over a period of time, I think you'll be very frustrated. I just about this book.
Oh, did you read it already?
No, I'll start reading it. I have read one of his biographies, which is 75% I've read, which talks about his the whole struggle from the
Ashley
beginning.
Vance's or this one?
Yeah, I think it's here the Ashley Vance's. Yeah.
I haven't ever said that on screen, but I think I should say it. I very much prefer Ashley Vance's biography. I think he understood Elon much better than Isaacson. I mean, I see the work he did. I see the insight he has, and when you read it, you will have you feel you're there, right? The way he writes, you feel you're part of that room. You see it through the eyes of Walter Isaacson. But I felt the symbiosis, the understanding of the person, of the genius, of the craziness, of the visionary was much more with Ashley Vance. I prefer that very much.
I think I haven't read Walter Isaacson, but I read his Steve Jobs biography, and I was not very impressed. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm nobody. I know my limitations.
Same for me.
As a reader, I was not very impressed. I struggled to go through that. And that did not present 5 key takeaways for me. The whole biography. At the end of the day, you say 5. What are the 5 key takeaways? And I did. So I'm just giving a bit of benefit of doubt and I've heard some of his interviews, and they've talked a lot more negative than positive about his childhood. Having that kind of behavior. I don't like that. I think we should look more towards what the person is doing. Anyway.
Exactly.
So what the person gets a lot of hate, Alex.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
Why
does,
is it
and
happening?
it's sometimes discouraging, right? Because I mean, and I think that's probably, again, I didn't read all of Walter Isaacson's book because I got aggravated by it.
Okay.
And one thing I've learned in my life is when I feel toxicity or something that bothers me,
Hmm.
there's no point. There's no point putting it on me because then I need to get rid of it afterwards. So may as well stop. So I started this book and I restarted sometime, in the middle of it, and then I put it away. So it's next to my bed. Maybe I will at one point really have read it, but at the moment I have not. So the issue is that Elon, we have two phenomena. We have Elon, who is a true believer in his vision. He sees years ahead. He sees much further than us, and he can nevertheless steer and change. It's not somebody that is just, put into his vision and sees nothing else via a tunnel, but he really adapts. So he has to manage daily life, but he also has to manage that his vision becomes there. But he is disrupting so many industries, and now also including media. And the one thing that I think establishment will never forgive him is to disrupt media and communication, because they had the monopoly on that. So he disrupted the car industry. He's disrupting the energy industry, has completely disrupted space. We know where we come from in France, we're very close to Ariane space. The Europeans have given up. They have given up. I mean, this is crazy. And I know India has a program and China has a program, but they're running behind. The Russians, let's not even talk about it. So he has won the space industry. He has won the car industry. He will win the energy industry, and he will win the labor industry. The bot is the biggest disruption yet to come. And they don't even realize that yet, because watch the establishments once they will understand that he's going to disrupt the labor market. That is going to be, because that is their power. That is what's happening at the moment slowly with all these unions. They fear what he is after. So when he bought X, he bought it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think he very quickly understood it is the most real-time, hard, brutal, cruel vocabulary and language that you can find. Yes, there is YouTube. Yes, there's Instagram. Yes, there is Facebook, but lots of it is just fake. While Twitter and now X is brutally honest. I mean, you said earlier you appreciate how I try to bring dignity to X. I do try, no doubt about it. But I mean, you have no idea how harsh, even for me, Twitter can be, right? I mean, my critics...
People post all bullshit. People post, they say whatever they like.
Exactly. But it is an enormous source of language that if you want to do XAI, which is based on language, you have the best real-time data. And that's why Grok, the AI tool that he is now making public, is so up to date. You can ask questions to Grok that you cannot ask to GPT, or you will get answers in a much more natural way from Grok than you will get it from Claude, or you will get it from Bart. So that he saw early. So the Twitter business case on artificial intelligence, I think he saw very early. On finance, him coming from PayPal will allow him to disrupt finance. Okay, so we talked about cars, we talked about energy, we talked about space, we talked about artificial intelligence. Now we're talking about the whole finance sector that he's going to re-disrupt a second time, because PayPal disrupted it the first time, and it's going to be a second time. He will disrupt shopping, and he will disrupt and is disrupting media, meaning when he put out the Twitter files, right? When he helps journalists to regain their free speech, when he promotes certain right-wing people or certain people that have been exposed and were not able to communicate anymore, he actually shakes the establishment in their core. So the establishment is not stupid. They still have a lot of other means. They have regulations. Tesla needs regulations. They have like NASDAQ or whatever. So there is a fine line to be walked, right? Because Tesla still needs some of these establishment companies. And so there are days I'm discouraged and just think, oh my gosh, I'll never get there, because, by just putting F-bombs everywhere, you're not making friends, right? And he certainly isn't. And one of the topics where I became my little self famous was the rating agencies. We really, as retail investors, had to put pressure on those rating agencies to finally give investment grade to Tesla, because they were playing the same game. Nobody gives any present to Tesla. Tesla has to earn it double and triple before they get it. And that's the same with Elon, and that's the same with X.
I was very surprised, and I kind of laughed it out that for ESG rating, Philip Morris got the top one. Can you believe it? I mean, it's a secret company, and what they're doing to environment. So you're saying that he's considered as a threat. A lot of establishment. You were
Yes,
talking
he's
about some
considered as a
universities
threat.
ganging up against him or something.
Yes, he's considered as a threat, and actually ESG is a very good example for that. So ESG was obviously developed initially for environment, social governance. Still don't understand why these three topics were put together, but be it. And while they give some credit to Tesla on environment, they hate Elon and his way of being. He's obviously not having unions in Tesla. He's not doing this reporting that whatever makes your social and governance points holier than thou. So the whole gravy train that these industry typically put in place, because it's always about establishing procedures, feeding a lot of people, building up a whole gravy train. It's journalists, it's rating agencies, it's auditors, it's publications. So that there is a whole gravy train always linked to all of these things. In the end, it's not about environment at all. It's about establishment. And so what actually is happening, and I think that's an interesting point we should look at in a year or two, what's going to come out of it, is the governments of lots of Western nations have missioned something that is called the ISSR to come up with ESG financial reporting for financial reporting worldwide. So now if they get to where they want to get, all companies worldwide have to report in their financial reporting on ESG in a certain manner, in a standardized manner. And nobody would ever, look at Tesla as an example, yet they should. But what is the case is this ISSR is sponsored, paid by donors from the petrol industry, from Daimler-Benz, from Volkswagen, from all that. So actually, they have an influence. They are paid by these old OEMs and these old style companies to come up with standards that will allow these companies to look better than others. This is corruption at its finest, but it's a huge gravy train. So many people are now on this. And actually, just for quick information, the son of the World Economic Forum's, what's his name? Oh, I can't think of his name. The Swiss guy, the bald guy that always does Davos. You don't know him? Let me just check him out. Give me 2 seconds, because I think that would be a shame if I don't get you the name. He put his son on that board. Oops, I'm nearly there. Klaus Schwab.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Klaus Schwab?
I've heard of Schwab from the bank, but
yeah.
Charles Schwab.
No, that's Charles Schwab. This one is Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. You have to check that out. That's really something. So he's nothing to do with the ESG, but they understand that ESG is something to cement political power into financial reporting, and that's what they're doing. And they're not going to favor Tesla and all that. So again, my hope is that us retail investors, we understand who the underdog here is and the good guy, and we will make this happen.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with you. Alex, let's go to a bit of a business of Tesla, deconstruct it, and see which part of Tesla business is is kind of a business wise looks most fantastic to you? What you are most excited about?
Oh, the most exciting is the bots. But let me explain why one is interlinked with the other. You have the S curve from the cars, and why we're by far not where we are yet, because the biggest is yet to come, which is the compact car in different variants and worldwide. So you will see those in India, you will see those in China, you'll see them in Europe, you'll see them in Mexico, you'll see them in South America, and you'll see them in the United States, even though the Americans believe they don't need a compact car, but you will see them here as well. So that is still the steepest thing to come. And that's how Tesla will get to 20 million cars per year. But the car business, they are the established leader. They're the established innovator. We just had the Cybertruck launch. And I mean, it's just so rich in innovation. Whatever they do, they always innovate. And they just don't just innovate the car, they innovate the factory that makes the car, the production line. I was able to walk the production line in Austin last week. I mean, not that I have a clue what I saw, right? I mean, I try to learn and I try to instruct myself, but it's overwhelming how automated it is and how well thought through it is. So the car business is great. The car business depends on this new compact car, and obviously we all hope for full self-driving. That's why I'm a little bit concerned whether regulators will give it to us or not. And if they don't give it to us in the US, I hope they give it to us in China, and then from there and will come. But anyway, so that is that. The second wave is energy. Energy wave has started. It's actually funny that even here in Santa Barbara, where I live, the suburbs, Goleta, they just got 44 megapacks, which will help in times of unstable grid, give 30,000 homes 4 hours of stable electricity. So this is incredible for America, who has, and Australia and many other countries, who has issues with their grid to stabilize it. And Tesla has very quickly become the market leader for that. And with their auto-bidder system, will make extra money. So energy is great. Energy will be as big as cars. And it's actually an easier product because your clientele is not the retail clientele, but it is communities, groupments of homes, whatever. It is a big and an easier market. So that's great. But the bot is phenomenally bigger because the bot is actually getting into the labor market. It will replace labor, and it will do all the things that people don't want to do anymore because society is moving on. And there is a huge need for that. And why do I think that Tesla has what the others don't have? Because we see today, we saw Google present their Gemini AI. We see all these companies presenting AI, but they are mainly based on language models. The input can be partially by vision, but then the output is always a language response, right? It writes something or it talks something, but it's language. It's not an action. While what Tesla is doing with the cars and then eventually with the bot is it sees, it's got fed millions and millions of situations. It digests those vision projects it saw, and it acts. And that's a completely different notion than a language model. Now we're into something where we're vision action. And vision action, the bot can do, already can, and will even more. And there will be interaction because thanks to XAI, it will speak. It will not just write words and read them, but it will know how to react from what it senses and what it then gets as output. So the market and the possibilities for that are just endless. People have problems struggling with it when they tell me, oh, look at the bots from the Boston bots, whatever. So those are programmed. They can dance. It's fun. I love the music when they dance, but it's in no way comparable to what Tesla is tackling here.
Yeah, and the addressable market for bots look like I think
Gigantic.
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 Yeah.
I mean, the first use I do believe will be in their own factories.
Yeah.
I think bots will construct the bots. Bots will construct cars. Bots will construct the mega packs. So the labor intensity of Tesla employees will not expand with the growth. We may have still, as at the moment we have 130,000 Tesla employees. We may still have 130, or maybe we even go to 200,000. But given at the moment we're about 2 million cars a year and we want to get to 20 million cars per year, given the output we want to increase on the energy side, you would think we need 10, 20, 30 times more labor, and we do not. We do not. The bot will take a lot of that.
Yeah, no, I am with you on that. And Cybertruck, I think, look, I saw your tweet on the number of views, million views, I think we're talking about.
Yes.
And it's pretty insane, right? I mean, like, and it looks like, I mean, if I'm in US, I would love to buy it. I mean, Singapore, I don't know when will it come, and in Singapore, when it comes, it's going to be so
So
fucking
expensive.
expensive
Yeah.
that I can't even if I sell my home, maybe I'll not able to afford it. But the pricing was a bit of a disappointment, at
You
least for
think
me.
so? I actually think it's cheap for what it is. I mean, first of all, I think it's not at all comparable to a Rivian or to a F-150 Lightning. I mean, somebody who wants a traditional looking or a cute looking truck is not going to buy the Cybertruck. If you want a Cybertruck, you want a Cybertruck. I have been for a long time in real estate, and my parents have had a retail shop, whatever. One thing I've understood, when you have something so original that people want it, price does not matter.
Okay.
It does not matter. I think they could have actually gone higher. The fact that they went for 60,000 for the single motor, I think that's very fair, really fair. And with the current credits in the United States, it actually goes down to 52. My gosh. And I mean, it's the most impressive car ever. If you could have for the same price a Rivian, an F-150 Lightning, or a Cybertruck, do you think that the people who like the Cybertruck are going to hesitate 1 second? They would even put $10,000 or $20,000 more there if they could have it. And if they don't like it, then price is not the issue.
Alex, if you ask me, I think it's not expensive. I don't think it's expensive. It's bulletproof or something? Is it bulletproof?
Yes, not the windows, but the exoskeleton.
Yeah. So I mean, it has, and it's all the funky looks, turns, twist, and at some point of time, it will be FSD also, right? I mean,
and the drive. I mean, I wasn't driving it, but I've pay very, very close attention to all these videos that are out. And I read one of Musk's reports, and I spoke to Sandy Moreau about it, who drove one for 2 days. It is as if you drive on a cloud. It is incredibly soft to drive for a beast like that. It is incredibly simple to park for a beast like that because of the way the wheels operate. It is the softest truck out there, yet it looks like a beast. The technology inside is amazing. I mean, I'm now at my 4th Tesla and I love Teslas, but when I look at what this car can do, this is a whole other level.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I was talking about pricing from the point of view of what was originally planned, PK or something. I'm talking from that point of view that it's like 50% higher. So maybe.
But I mean, again, first of all, it was 4 years ago. We went through a pandemic with a lot of shortages, so they had to develop this in a very stressful market. And we went here in the United States, because that's the only market it's available, through about 20% of inflation. So if you count all that in, we're not far from what has been announced. I mean, it would have been impossible today, after 20% inflation, being there at the old prices, right? It would be nice, but it's just not possible. The other thing I feel, I may be wrong, is I don't think they're aiming at a huge, massive ramp straight away. I think they want to take this easy, because don't forget, at the same time, they're building the production line, the master production line for the compact car in Austin. And once that is up and perfectionist, it will just be cloned to Mexico, to India, to Berlin, and to Shanghai. So they are currently in that same building, building the production line for that compact car. So it's not as if all focus is only on the Cybertruck ramp. It is on continuing to ramp the Y. The Y is the best-selling car in the world. They have to put the output there, and building that production line for the compact car. So there are 3 completely different products currently developed under the same roof at Giga Austin. They have their hands full.
But it's already priced in the stock price, though. I mean, I mean, after that, we've not seen a lot of, because it was already anticipated, right? It's not.
Well, I think what they understood. I mean, if next year we sell 100,000 Cybertrucks, which I think is on the high end, but let's just say that works. If they can deliver 100,000, it doesn't make a difference compared to the 2 million and something other cars that Tesla already sells, right? And they're at the same prices. They're maybe a little bit lower for the Y, and they're certainly lower for the 3. What will really have on the car side the hugest impact is the day they announce the product launch of the compact car. Now, my feeling is that they have learned from that 4-year interval between presenting the Cybertruck and being able to launch it. Fair enough. We had 2 years of a pandemic, but still, I think that they learned that was a tough one. Elon has already expressed that the compact car is much more conventional, but the product line is much more advanced. So while I saw last week a wonderful ultra modern product line for the Cybertruck, they're already working on something more advanced for the compact car. So I do believe the next big stock mover from the car side is going to be when they present us the look of the compact car, and that will be, I hope, about 6 months prior to delivery. Okay, so probably late 2024 to present the day, and then 6 months later to start delivering them. There are 2 more events that can come next year. One is, I think we will have a 3rd AI day where we will learn where xAI and Tesla now connect. I do believe Tesla will invest in xAI. I hope a couple of billion, so that Tesla has a big stake in it, and there is exchange of engineering power, of dojo, of all those things. And the other point is, when finally the energy ramp is picking up. Why is energy so difficult to predict? When you sell these mega packs, the client pays a deposit, then it is constructed, then it is delivered, then it is put on the grid. So there are 4 or 5 very precise moments, and some of these don't depend on Tesla. Some of them depend when the client can reception them, and the last one depends actually on the grid. When does the grid let you connect to it? Sometimes there are months for that last little step, just because the grid has to be prepared, and the money flows accordingly. So you see energy at the moment taking about 3-4% of revenues of Tesla. It can suddenly be 10, 15, right? There can be a huge step. When does that step come? I have no idea. So that is one of the things we're waiting for, we're anticipating, and could be 2024.
Yeah, the catalyst. Now, a couple of two more questions, and then we can round it up. Now, one thing, I think you talked about EV, right, and the competition, and I think it keeps shifting. I remember talking to, I forgot the name. It's a analyst of, he's pretty active on Twitter also. He's talked about Chinese.
Robert?
Huh? No. It's an analyst he's a head of technology research. I'm just becoming so bad with the name. He's pretty popular. He keeps coming on CNBC also.
Okay.
Chinese are the competition, and you think the same?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm German, so I'm looking at the German OEMs. I've been a Porsche girl. I've been a Volkswagen girl very early. I've been a Mercedes girl. So I look at it and have a smile because I love Tesla now, but I also cry a little bit for these jobs and for these companies. They have a beautiful history, and I live in the United States, so obviously GM and Ford are also on my radar. And initially I thought 2-3 years ago when I started, I thought Volkswagen and Toyota could be real competitors to Tesla. And people tell me don't write Toyota completely off yet. They may have a long period with hybrids. People may actually, stay for a longer time on hybrids, and Toyota is going to cover that part. But Volkswagen has really been disappointing, and I do believe they understand it now, and they're giving up. They're becoming a niche player. Mercedes has already announced they're only going to be a niche player. Porsche has been always a niche player, and it's getting a smaller niche. Audi is reducing. So you see all these old OEMs melting down. I mean, I hope they don't disappear, because it's nice to have multiple cars, and I hope they understand that they have few chances. One chance is they can actually consolidate among them. Others are they can work with Tesla. They can subcontract the energy drive or the FSD or whatever, and learn from them, and just then wrap the car around it, and it's inside Tesla. So I think that's actually another catalyst that can come. But it's clearly been a shift over the last 3 years that I follow the stock, from initially thinking that the old OEMs have a chance to catch up, to now being convinced that the gap is widening. They're not closing in. They're desperate to try and then give up. So at the same time, notably BYD has really made an enormous advancement in the Chinese market. I do believe they have a lot of challenges on the international market. The Europeans will put duties on them. They need to build up a dealer network. BYD does not only do electrics, they also do hybrids. So there is some maintenance involved in those cars. And the dealers in Europe, they don't do this for free. So in the end, their cars are less competitive price-wise in Europe, while Tesla is still decreasing prices. So I think it is actually tough for them to gain market share and traction there, but they do. We have, for example, one that is called MG, an old English brand that has been purchased by the Chinese. They are now, after Tesla, the number 2 EV seller in the Netherlands. So you have little markets where they do gain shares, and over the years they may. So I do believe in the end it will be Tesla and the Chinese car makers, and the others will just be niche players.
And in Chinese, you're looking at BYD.
BYD is clearly the biggest. There are a couple of other ones that have. Xpeng is having quite some good models, and they have a quite advanced full self-driving technology. I mean, there have been rumors. I don't know whether you remember, where Tesla was actually trying to sue them for having stolen some of the old Tesla technology. I mean, I still think there's a huge gap between what they do and what Tesla is now doing, just because Tesla is moving at such a speed. But they are certainly among those that are getting the closest, yes.
Okay. I think, as I was saying, that a lot of focus is on retail investors for this particular episode. And I'm just curious, what are the sources you follow to keep yourself updated, Alex? You must have, you're following it for so long, and you figured out this is bullshit, this is good, this is bad. And I know this is subjective. And like, for example, look, I mean, I would love to chat Steve McLaren sometime, but I kind of see his videos, and and then they're entertaining, and then I go and listen to Dave Lee, and now I've started listening to a bit of you as well, because I find a sense of objectivity there. So how do you research? What are the sources you trust?
First of all, I don't do much on YouTube anymore. I try to stay on X, just because
Yeah,
I want to support as much as possible that platform. And I do believe actually the best content is now published also on X. So that's one thing. The second is I read a lot. Rather than videos where somebody has already prepared the thought that then I should follow, I rather go to the source. So what I have developed is quite a strategy on X. I don't do it all the feed they give me, and I do rarely the feed of followers. I have prepared myself lists of accounts that I like to follow. So I have Chinese car makers, and the whole list is only those information. So I have certain car specialists for Chinese cars. I have obviously the car makers themselves, and so when I'm ready to go there, I read that list. Or I have my EV list, or I have my bots list, or I have my journalists list, or I have my Tesla list, or whatever. So I work a lot with different lists on X, and that has become my primary source of research. And there is so much, you don't need more. It is incredibly rich. And so I hardly go to people that have already digested the basic and give me their view, but I rather go directly to the source.
So you don't listen to particular somebody like, I think I started listening to interview of Sandy Munro and Elon Musk, and then
yes, I do, because Sandy is obviously one of the base sources. Yes, but I waited until it was on X. I didn't watch it on YouTube just because that's who I am. But I do, and I met Sandy last week, and I've met him now 4 or 5 times. He's become a real friend. I love this gentleman.
Yeah, I don't. He gets time with Elon Musk, and I think I just heard them for 2-3 minutes, and they started talking about engineering. I think both of them like talking about engineering, right? And you know,
Sure.
I switched off there. I couldn't make out much of it. But I think the last question: advice to retail investors to live through Tesla, and you know, hold Tesla. What's your advice?
You see, I actually think it's an easy stock to hold once you've made up your mind that that is it, right? Because why is it an easy stock to hold? Because we're quite a community. I mean, I have no idea how I deserve having 100,000 followers soon, but I do know a lot of them. There's lots of DM groups, there's lots of exchange. And I have not, and I've been in the market, but I've never witnessed such a motivated retail community. So while the stock itself, you know, if you do a little bit of analysis and you see the potential and you believe in that potential, I think you can pull yourself out of the daily grind and just leave the stock where it is. Don't go into margin, don't go into options if you don't want to go there, and just leave that there. But then educate yourself to reassure yourself. And for that, the community is endlessly helpful. So I really, you know, and they call us cold and they call us on a mission. And I mean, they disparage us in any possible way. But I think that in the end, even the Tesla Q people who hate Tesla and Elon so much have to admit what a strength it is to have this community.
I think on that note, Alex, thank you so much for your precious time.
My pleasure, Ajit.
You know, your passion, your positivity, as I said, is already very infectious, and it comes across. So I hope to meet you sometime in person and maybe chat again if you give me time. And
anytime, Rajat.
Yeah, and wish you all the best. And you know, once again, your background is blown my mind. So many businesses, all successful. Your drive. So on that, you know, wish you all the best and love to your children and regards to your husband.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.